Sofsky, and I'm doing the public relations for MILE-4. And I think it's a wonderful event. I think it's wonderful to have it on State Street so that people can have access to it in a non-elite way. And I think the pieces are wonderful. The minute that Vito Acconci piece went up, people were sitting on it and scampering all over it. They didn't even know that they were on sculpture. Frank Matthew was here from Channel 7. And he'd say to people, do you know you're sitting on a piece of sculpture? And they would jump up thinking that it was something they shouldn't be doing. But I think it's terrific, and I think the reactions of people and just the fact that, you know, people are even involved with it is very nice for the citizens of Chicago.
I think it's magnificent. It really is magnificent. It's a wonderful idea, and it's a much better showplace for showing large-scale sculpture than the pier was, and it gives it a personality of its own. It's a totally separate entity, and I think it's wonderful, and it's wonderful for the city.
Oh, I think art should be seen and be in the public domain. I personally would prefer it if it were on the lakefront in a more pristine atmosphere, but people wouldn't see it. And it's very good for people to see what's happening in the real world.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to MILE-4. My name is Jack Levin. I'm the Executive Director of Chicago Sculpture International. We're a nonprofit organization dedicated to bringing good contemporary works of sculpture to the public, to you, the public. Now, these works of art are not generally gathered in one place in a major city. This is a very rare event. Now, before I start, I want to introduce the people who really made this event possible, the artists themselves. If there weren't artists in this world, it would be a very dull place. And the artists on this exhibition are some of the most exciting in the country today. These artists were chosen by a very distinguished panel of authorities from museum and museum curators from across the country. The only direction given to them was to produce a list of the best people they could find, both new talent as well as artists of very well-established reputations and honors. I believe, and I think you will agree, that the jury has done its work very well. We are honored to have with us today many of the artists themselves, and I would like to take a moment to call on them for recognition. We have with us Steve Byer.
They're screwy. They seem to be overt enough in their intent that the name wouldn't do it much good, wouldn't serve any purpose.
Christy Rupp.
It was originally commissioned for Dag Hammarskjöld's Plaza at near the UN, which is a public assembly space where there's protest marches. And quite often, I mean, I submitted a few proposals and they said, you can't have anything controversial because people throw red paint on it and they'll jump all over it. And all I could think of is how great that would look.
So Luis Jimenez.
This is an interesting show, and obviously all of us sculptors here are working in the public area with kind of a different approach. I work with images that are understandable, that you know the average person can see and can relate to, and have really been making pieces for communities. I mean, so that the piece is really an important part of the community.
Roger Machen.
It's sort of anthropomorphic, semi-mechanical. I always start with a title, so that pretty much defines what's going to happen.
Ron Fisher. Martin Purrier.
More waiters over here.
Mark Lear. John Chamberlain. There are others that were not able to be here today. As I have said, without artists, it would be a very dull world. But without support from the community, the artists have a very difficult time in showing their work to the public, particularly works like these. That's been the role of Chicago Sculpture International, to join the business community, the governmental bodies, and the art world together to enable you, the public, to have the opportunity to share in a broader cultural experience. This is not an easy task. Exhibits such as this are expensive and very complicated to assemble. If some of you were out here Sunday in the downpour, you know what I mean. From the beginning, it has been our objective to build support in the business community for this area of the art world, the visual arts and sculpture in particular. It's an area for which it is difficult to gather financial support. First, I must mention Mr. John Wilson of the Chicago International Art Exposition. John Wilson has been a true experimenter. It was John Wilson's seed money support that really got us off the ground. Another early supporter of MILE-4 must get very special attention. Arthur Anderson and Company is more than the world's largest accounting firm. Their backing of many civic causes is well known, but in supporting MILE-4, they really went the extra mile. Events such as this do not fit the normal image of the accounting world, and therefore the establishment of the $50,000 Arthur Anderson Prize Award is a groundbreaking first. In such a short space of time, I can't begin to mention each of the other supporters of our efforts. But last, and certainly not least, is someone whose energy and enormous efforts were vital. I must present Miss Nancy Fishman, Assistant Executive Director of CSI. She's both a right and a left arm. Where's Nancy? The Arthur Anderson Prize, $50,000, will be awarded to one of the artists in this show in the form of a purchase of his or her sculpture displayed here. That piece of sculpture will be in turn donated by Arthur Anderson Company to the city of Chicago for permanent installation in a public place for future enjoyment of the public. We invite you to carefully look at all the art displayed and see if you can match your taste with the experts. It can be a lot of fun, You might agree with them, you might not, but in the meantime, you're going to have some fun.
My name is Gene Highstein, and I have a work which is 3 cast iron sculptures that are sited on a kind of gravel base. And they are, in a sense, natural forms. They're abstract forms, but in a sense they have natural associations. So I think people will see them in a kind of naturalistic association. Is that when you put contemporary works of art up in public, people react violently one way or the other, and that's the whole point in a funny way. It's because it's the art making process is about defining the culture and making the culture go somewhere, you know, about the whole cultural process, about growth, and people are resistant to that. Everybody wants what they have or what they aspire to or what they understand, and they're afraid of change. So when you have something that's not clear to people what its exact meaning is, they're frightened. And they react in a frightened manner.
It reminds me of Alfred Hitchcock.
Got that kind of atmosphere, yeah.
Somebody that's dangerous and they will murder you or something, I don't know. It's terrorizing and it's spooky. You tell me.
Boy, talk about sick. He's sick.
It's a Rico Pancho Miller, huh?
It's a film, something like that. Leaning Fountain of Youth. I need to put my artistic ability to work.
So the natural progression is for, you know, kind of people to draw back, not understand it, maybe be afraid of it, and eventually after 5 or 10 years or 15 years or whatever that time period is, they come to love that whole situation because it's taught them something, and then they want to protect it. And that's generally what happens. And in a funny way, the more violent the reaction, usually you could say the better the work.
That's throwing away taxpayers' money.
What did you say?
That's throwing away taxpayers' money to spend for a piece of junk like that.
No taxpayers have spent it.
Well, whoever did it, that is completely crazy.
I mean,
Whoever needs to be knocking on Mantino's door to go in, because they need to be committed. That is an insult to society.
Are you
and
off
to
for the day?
history.
When do you go back at night?
Golly.
Are you going back at night? Or?
Go back if that's what you're going to put up with.